People ask me all the time, aren't you lonely traveling by yourself? Or why are you always alone? Or any number of questions like that. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Ian. I'm known as WanderBeard around these parts. And I am back in the city of Oaxaca, Mexico, where I was last year in 2024. Had an amazing time when I was here and figured since I was in the neighborhood, relatively speaking, I would take a stop back up and have another visit. I'm about 6 to 8 blocks east of the center district here in Oaxaca, and it's kind of a local neighborhood, and it's been really nice. Lots of good restaurants, very quiet at night, and I've been really enjoying it. When I was here in 2024, I actually spent a lot of time wandering around the central district of the city, checking out some of the historical sites, and yeah, it's a beautiful place. And I would say kind of unique in its own way to the rest of Mexico. Today's video, I'm going to talk about a topic that gets asked all the time in my comments. I will bet you there are well over 1,000 comments. It's a topic that I think is important to a lot of people, and I mean that's just purely based on the sheer number of comments that I've had. So I thought that, just making sure I don't get run over here on the road. So I thought that I would sort of talk about a little bit today about traveling solo and what that can mean in terms of loneliness. People ask me all the time, aren't you lonely traveling by yourself? Or why are you always alone? Or any number of questions like that. And so I thought that it's a good topic to cover here in a separate video. So a lot of this comes from that video I released back on my birthday. I don't even have words for how successful that video has been for me, for my channel. It's brought a lot of new faces and people to the channel, and yeah, it's been amazing. I never expected a 6-minute shoot from the hip video about being 51 would have ever resonated with so many people from so many countries and backgrounds and ages and everything. Yeah. Again, I'm at a loss for words a little bit because of that. So firstly, thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed, or commented as a result of that video. I have received comments from, I think at last count, 120 different countries, something like that. And those are just the ones that I'm certain of. People, you know, obviously say, oh, I'm so-and-so from this country and I'm this old or whatever, and I'm trying to figure out my life. And yeah, this question about, you know, being alone or traveling solo or being lonely comes up all the time. So this question usually comes up in one of 3 ways. Are you alone? Are you lonely? Why do you travel solo? Or some variation of those 3. And so I thought the easiest way to tackle this was one at a time. So, am I alone? I mean, other than people around me on the streets, yeah, I travel alone. I have pretty much traveled alone since I left Nova Scotia back in May of 2024. Buenos dias. So yes, I've been traveling alone since I left my home in Nova Scotia back in May of 2024. There's been a few times where, I've met up with people or gone with groups for things, like when I did my hike in El Salvador up the volcano. That was with a group. Didn't really talk to them much because I was too busy breathing heavy. But yeah, for the most part, I've been traveling alone. The second part to that, I guess, is why do I travel alone? And it's just easy. I can go where I want. I can do what I want. And every time it's either a good experience or it's a bad experience, but it's my experience. I make of it what I can. Sometimes I'll go and try something and it doesn't work out, or I'll go and try something and it's wonderful. But in every case, it's always down to with my choice. So I live with the results, and that's great. It's a learning process, and if you don't learn from the mistakes you've made, well, then you're not growing as a person. So the other reason why I have enjoyed traveling solo so much is that I can make my own plans. I can go where I want, when I want, and if I go somewhere and I want to have a few days where I do nothing, that's okay too. I think people try to rush too much when they have open-ended travel, try and squeeze in too many places and never give yourself a chance to breathe. There's people who spent 2025 hitting up 15, 20, 25 countries in some cases, or more, just to check off a list. But to me, that's not really a great way to do it. As a result of that, it just kind of all, blends together into a big soup of places and passport stamps, and that's it. And that's no fun. I traveled 7 countries in 2025, and 2 of those were very short. So like Mexico, when I was here at the beginning of the year, I only traveled through, I had 3 stops left, which you've probably recently seen with my recap. And Costa Rica on the other end, I only had 3 or 4 stops there, and then went home for a while. So really, 5 countries in 12 months. Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. And the shortest amount of time I spent in any of those countries was about 3 weeks in Belize. And to me, that was perfect. It was a nice way to explore the country, get in touch with a bit more of the local history, those types of things. So that is why I have always enjoyed traveling solo. So the other big question that comes up quite often is, am I lonely? And my definitive answer to that is absolutely not. I have never felt like I have needed someone to make my life or my trips or my anything complete. I've been in many relationships in the past, some long, some short, some easy and some complicated. And it's nice, of course. It's nice to be able to share some of those things with other people. But it's not a requirement. And one of the things I often tell people is that you need to learn to love yourself first. And I think that is something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's something that a lot of people, I think, frankly, are kind of afraid to do. It can be hard to look at yourself in the mirror every day and not feel confident or comfortable or any of those things. But I think it's one of the most important things that anyone can learn. And this is at any age. So if you are in your 20s and you're struggling with, personal identity, or feeling like there's pressure to meet someone or get married to someone, or, and those are real things. I get that. There are many places where, culturally speaking, there's an enormous amount of pressure on people to meet someone, to start a family, and those things can be very complicated. So that is why I say learn to love yourself first, because once you do that, then that pressure comes off. If you learn to be able to enjoy yourself and enjoy your own company, then you're already many steps ahead of a lot of people. One of the things that I've seen a lot, and I'm referencing specifically, there's a subreddit on the website Reddit, if you've never been. Subreddit's basically just like a collective group of people talking about a particular topic. So there's a subreddit for solo travel. And I see a lot of people post on there on a regular basis who are trying to fix themselves, or however you want to call it, by going and picking up their life and traveling solo for months at a time as a first go. Nice little park here. I'm just going to have a sit down for a minute if I can find some shade. So you see a lot of people on that subreddit who's like, I wasn't happy with my home life, so I decided to pick everything up and go travel for 6 months. And it's day 4 and I hate it and I want to go home. That kind of comment from people comes up very frequently. And I don't want to, make fun of people, because that's not fair to them. People try all sorts of things all the time. As I said earlier, you learn from your mistakes. But traveling does not fix anything back home. Period. Never has, never will. So if you think for a second that you're going to go and travel and suddenly feel inspired and your whole life is going to come into focus and it's going to fix all the problems you had at home, you're wasting your time and your money. And I hate to say it that way, but it's true. It will not fix things. In fact, I would argue it can actually magnify some of those problems. I think a lot of those problems for people at home are very personal. It could be a family situation. It could be emotional, mental. It could be physical situations. It could be any number of things that cause people to want to, travel as a reason or as a belief that it will fix everything. And so my suggestion to those people, and again, these are the types of comments that I receive all the time. So my suggestion to you is if you're in one of these situations and you feel like I need to go travel to fix everything, or I think that travel, I'm going to go to some country I've never been to where I don't speak the language, and I'm going to do it for 6 months and it's going to be awesome and it's going to, revolutionize the way I look at the world. Start smaller, like way smaller. And that was the whole point of my video that I released on my birthday. I talk about in that video a lot about finding your own path and finding your own way and learning about yourself. And I still think that's very true. I want people to be happy with themselves first and to take the time to find the things that you enjoy in life. It doesn't have to be travel. It doesn't have to be anything. It can be whatever you like. Find a new hobby and run with that for a while. Finding a new hobby means meeting new people, means, discovering a whole new culture potentially, depending on what you want to do. Do that first. That's one way you can figure out what you enjoy, and it's one way you can figure out how to enjoy your own time, by finding a hobby like that. And I think that is something that a lot of people kind of gloss over and don't think about, is trying to find things in their life that are interesting. So in the end of the day, and I know that this is getting a little bit long here as I ramble on endlessly about being alone and loneliness and all of those types of things, I just want people to understand that that was the original point of my message in that video, in that it's okay to be alone. It's okay to do your own thing. In fact, I strongly recommend it. I think too many people get pushed into too many situations, be it relationships or, something like that, that they're not comfortable with. And then they feel like they're stuck and they feel like they can never escape. That just leads to so many other problems down the road. And, I'm not here to tell people that being solo, traveling alone, being alone is for everybody. I don't want it to be for everybody. I just want everybody to understand that learn to love yourself first, choose your own path, make the most of it. That's really it. One of the other things I see a lot in my comments, about being alone or being lonely or those types of things is discussions around this whole incel or involuntary celibacy personification that people have. That is not my position at all. I almost disagree with it very strongly in many ways. I think that people use that as an excuse to go within themselves and withdraw from society. And I think that's a terrible way to live your life. We are meant to be a social creature, and I think that a lot of people would be far more successful and happy in their lives if they would just go out and, expand their world a little bit more. People handle that in different ways. For me, again, it's travel, it's seeing the world, it's meeting people as I go, learning about history and culture and all of these wonderful things. That to me is one way to do it, but it's not the only way. And I think that, I think a lot of people would be better off if they just went outside once in a while. There's this whole toxic masculinity sort of subculture online. I completely disagree with that. Also, I think that people just need to get away from a screen, which is ironic given that I'm talking to you through a screen. But I think that people need to just become better communicators and put down the phone once in a while and just talk to people. You'd be amazed how happy people are to hear someone else say hello, or even just good morning, or whatever it would take. So I guess that's pretty well all I have to say on the matter. I guess, I think that it's okay to be alone, absolutely. Just don't let it become a crutch that you live your life by. There are so many amazing people and places and things to see in the world, so many opportunities to fulfill your life with reading or hobbies or movies or learning how to cook or any of those types of things, and they can all come in so handily in your day-to-day life. Traveling alone for me is awesome. I have always enjoyed it. I've been doing it now for a year and a half plus, and it's been great for me. But I just want you to do your own thing and find your own way. And if it's similar to what I'm doing, then great. But if it's not, do something else and make the most of it, because that's what we're all here for, and we're only here for a little time. So thank you so much, as always, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, a little different from my usual travel format, but you know, there are lots of people who ask these types of questions, and so I'm trying to go through a backlog of these types of topics, as well as doing my usual travel content, because that's truly what I enjoy the most. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate it. I do read every comment I receive, so if you want to leave a comment on this video or any of my other videos, I do tend to read them all. I don't get to respond to all of them, just from the sheer volume and the fact that I'm doing all of this by myself, but I do what I can, and I do appreciate it regardless, and I want you to know that. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe down below to continue to get updates on future videos as I continue to wander aimlessly in some cases and ramble on to a camera. If you'd like to support me further, there's a few different ways you can do that. I have some memberships set up here on YouTube. There are 3 tiers, the cheapest of which starts at just $3 Canadian per month, which is about $2 US. Has some one-time donation links, both here on the screen and down in the description. One through PayPal, and then the other one through Bitcoin, if you're into that. And lastly, I have a merchandise shop set up with some t-shirts, hats, those types of things. There's a few different varieties in there. And remember, life is short. Wander. And I will see you in the next video.